The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Channel switched.
Good evening and welcome to the Leadership with Biana Kovic show. We are live from New York City. It's 9:04 p.m. Thank you for being with us tonight. Our topic is leadership, which is focusing on leaders such as yourself. We believe that leadership is a skill that can be learned through practice and awareness. As you know, our number is 1-800-508-5431, and it is open for your calls. Our very special guest tonight is Donna Drake. Donna is the head of the Drake Media Network. She's a film and stage actress, author, philanthropist, and international award-winning television broadcast show producer and host of the CBS and NBC TV show Live It Up with Donna Drake. Donna is the recipient of the United Nations Global Citizenship Award. She has also received an Entrepreneur of the Year Award for the face-to-face competition for British Airways and a Goddess Artemis Award for the Euro-American Women's Counselor. Donna, good evening and welcome to the show.
Thank you so very much. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight. I'm so happy to be on your show. Thank you for inviting me.
I am very happy to have you on the show. I'm going to jump right into talking about your show. Okay. You are the executive producer, founder, and co-host on your show called Live It Up with Donna Drake. Can you tell us a little bit more about the show and what inspired you to do the show?
I absolutely can. So I started this show through a dream. I actually dreamt the entire concept in color on December 28th of 2008. I was sleeping. I woke up the next day and I was like, what was that? And I wrote down everything I could possibly remember. And if you remember at that time in 2008, the economy was terrible. So there was no sponsor money. Nobody was advertising. The home equity lines of credit got frozen. But I woke up and this dream was so intense. I had previously been in television, always behind the scenes. Basically, I didn't have a lot of self-confidence to be in front of the camera. I always thought my nose was too big. I didn't like the space between my teeth. So I spent many, many years producing, writing. But this dream, it had me in front of the camera. So I went to the TV station where I worked and I said, and at that time, people weren't doing that. So I was a trailblazer way. And that was basically what inspired the show and how I came to have my own television.
Now, I know that you basically invested your money in the show, correct?
I did. So what happened was, as I said, the economy took a nasty turn, and I had 2 kids I needed to put through college. I was a single mom, and I was responsible for 50% of their college tuition. So when my home equity line of credit got frozen, I had no way to pay for what I owed for them. Nor was anybody really hiring me. So I decided to start the TV show absolutely. I sold everything that I owned. I put my house for sale. On the same day, I had a garage sale. You know, most of the times when people sell their house, they make it all like perfect, makes it look like a showcase where people come in and it's like, ooh and ah. Not me. I did the absolute opposite. I had an open house. I had a garage sale at the same time, but I sold my house in a day. And I gave 10% to charity, and I took that money and I invested it. So I paid my camera people, I paid for the airtime, and we put the show on. And we've been on ever since April 2009, and now we've expanded. So we started out in the New York market, which we're still on that same footprint. We're in 7.5 million homes. And then we launched in St. Louis, Missouri on NBC, which is my hometown. So it's nice to have that airing there. And also now in Boston on WBZ. So it's grown. It's grown a lot. I've interviewed over 4,000 people in the last 10 years.
So, so did you have a role model? Did you have a mentor throughout that, the process, or,
That's a really great question. I would like to say, I really don't have a role model. I always looked up to Oprah Winfrey and other people that have had talk shows, because I always felt like if they could do it, I could do it. And I still feel that way. Like, I still look up to other women that are powerful communicators in our industry. Barbara Walters, even though I don't maybe know all of them personally, I still try to look up to them and celebrate all of the groundwork that they've done, and all of the actions that they've throughout the years. Because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I am now. I also, in turn, try to empower other generations that are going to be coming up behind me. Like, I work with this young lady, her name is Allie Melendez, and we just launched her own called Allie Answer. So I try to mentor people. I feel like you can always learn somebody, but in the beginning, no, I didn't have anybody to look up to, because nobody was really doing it. Kind of do it on my own.
Interesting. And would you say that, because you have a very broad experience in entertainment industry, would you say that helped you really, help with the show and help you kind of understand where your show was going, and also help you with on-camera work?
Yes, you know what? The 10 years that I've been on, you're right. There have been some challenges that have come my way. Different people that have promised me things that didn't come to fruition for one reason or another. And absolutely, every time I would get knocked down, I would just become more resourceful. I just decided there was no way that I was going to quit, and I won't quit. Because the moment I quit, I'm like, what would I do? I can't really hold a regular job anymore. You know what I'm saying? I've been doing this for 10 years. I don't know who would employ me, Biana. I'd be like, yeah. So I kind of created an entire career and brand. And no matter what challenges come my way, I always will figure out a way to move forward.
So obviously, you are a very determined person and very positive person, because, I actually read a lot about your show and looked at some of the, on YouTube, some of the clips, and you are, show is about hope and about, support, about being, very motivated about it. But obviously, you, as a leader, you experience, as you said yourself, challenges. What was that sustained you through it? That kind of, besides saying, okay, I'm gonna just get up and do it. But what was, was there anything else that kind of, sustained you within to continue doing what you really believe that you're meant to do?
I love that question. I'm going to be honest. I think it's pride. I think it's pride and ego. When I grew up in second grade, I was bullied, and back then, maybe someday I was going to kind of make those kids that were mean wish they were my friend. I guess for me, pride and ego, quite a bit. And then as the years rolled by, it's interesting now, because those same kids ardent support, so proud of me. I didn't realize back then, but like, we were only in second grade. What was I expecting? I wasn't bullied any more than anybody else, but for some reason I internalized that, and I had something to prove. I was a woman on, and I think the other things that really gained me and helped motivate me is that my husband Tom had passed away from colon cancer, and wrote a song, "Life is only what you make of it." Live It Up is short for that. The name of my television song that he wrote. And I decided to always, celebrate the it. Just to really, truly cherish every day. And the same thing with my mom. I was pregnant with my child when my mom passed away from breast cancer. And so I think a lot of what sustains me is gratitude of being able to live my life fully. I'm still here. I'm here, and I'm like, I still have a body, I still have a soul, I still have the chance in the world. And whenever I get too down on myself, I realize that losses and through generations for me, they're not here, but I am. So I take that responsibility to heart. And I feel like if, all of the living should really just cherish the day and make the most out of it, because we have that gift. We have that gift of life. And I think that motivates me now, where before, when I was a child, like I said, it was more pride and ego. Now it's more gratitude.
Right. And also what I'm hearing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is really honoring that gift that you have within, which is being a show host, and just really inspiring thousands and millions with your show.
I do like that. I do even, I'm happy to be able to do what I do in the way that I do it, and to honor each guest that comes on. Privilege when someone comes on my show and they share themselves so authentically, and I get an opportunity to light on them. It does make me really happy. I absolutely love it.
I know that you interviewed a lot of influential people. Can you share with us who, in your opinion, was most kind of interesting to you to interview, and who you think was most influential? Yeah,
I would love to say that I love them all, and I do. I love them all. They're all special in their own way.
Yeah.
So some of the nonprofit organizations that I've had the shine a light on have been wonderful, inspiring to me. Some of the celebrities, well-known names like Mel Brooks and Jay Leno and Michael Strahan and Tony Bennett. I mean, when I stood in front of Tony Bennett, eyes are so blue, and I learned so much about him. Like, what was cool is that he paints every single day. He doesn't really sing. He said that he paints every day. He's a painter, and he loves being able to use art in that way. Gloria Gaynor, having the opportunity to go to Gloria Gaynor's home, at her baby grand piano, talk about things that mattered to her, like literacy. So for me, when I get to interview a celebrity, it's not just that they're famous. It's now that you're famous, what is your give back to the world? How are you helping? Like even famous boxer, champion. What was cool about him is that he came up through the Boys and Girls Club, and he got beat one time really badly. And he went to his mom, and his mom said, "Listen, in life, you're going to try many different things. But that if you quit every single time you get beat down, you're never going to achieve or win." So he went back in and then became a world champion. So it's those little nuggets of inspiration that I get through every single person I get a chance to fuels my passion to just want to do more.
And, on that note, would you say that, because, the show is about leadership, would you say that, there are particular traits to all these people that you interview that you could say they were common to leaders?
I think that there is a common thread through leadership. In my opinion, are successful. And then you look at that success and you say, well, what is it? And I think that it's just sheer passion, drive, and not taking no and being a yes for themselves. Time after time again, what I realize is that most of the people that I interview that are leaders, when other people say no to them, they say yes to themselves. So they're just, every day they'll wake up and they'll be like, all right, it doesn't really matter what this one says or what that one says or what that one says. I'm going to be a yes for myself. I'm going to give myself permission to do the very best I can. And I think consistently across the board, that's one key element I've noticed in leaders.
So what you're saying to us, it's very important to be on your side, to be sort of guiding, someone who's guiding yourself when the other people are not part of that sort of community that you need to have as a support, right?
Right. Be your own best friend. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the time that you spend alone with yourself, and be true to yourself. And just know that no matter what it is, as long as you're giving it your very best effort, all that matters.
And also what I'm hearing, Donna, is that you have to appreciate and acknowledge yourself for the talents and gifts that you have.
I agree with you because, I always laugh. I always say, everybody can do something. You know, if you're a saxophone player, be the best saxophone player, because not everybody's given the gift to be able to be musical. You know, some people are wonderful writers. I feel like if you're given a talent, you know, a lot of things can be learned, but then there's these intrinsic things that you intuitively know that you're good at it, whether it's music, whether it's dance, whether you're the best, you know, football player, whatever it might be. Everybody's born with some sort of talent. And I think that it's our responsibility to share that talent, you know, to bring that forth. And so, and to be thankful for that. Not everybody gets those, you know, certain things.
Absolutely.
But if you're given a gift, you got to, like, you know, utilize it.
And, you know, in music, we would say, because I come from a musical background, we would say practice makes it perfect. Would you agree with that? Would you say that, you know, by you doing your shows became more to where you wanted them to be?
Yes. I tend to be a little bit of a perfectionist in that way, in that, you know, things they have to look well. They have to sound correct. They have to make sense. And I'll just keep working it. Where people would be like, oh, it's good enough. And I'm like, it's not good enough. It needs to be good enough plus 0.3. You know, it's got to be, you know, just always a little bit above average. It doesn't have to be perfect. It needs to be commercially acceptable, but it also has to be the very best you could.
So with that, I have another question.
Okay.
How did your show change throughout the years? Because I assume that, you know, you said, you know, do it, you know, just how did it evolve? Can you tell us a little bit more when you started 10 years ago? How is it now?
My hair color has changed.
Oh, okay.
When I started the show, I had green eyes and brunette hair.
Oh my goodness!
And then, so over the last 10 years, you know, I have started to turn a little gray, and then you realize that when you work with a professional makeup artist and a professional hairdresser, they look at you and they say, okay, well, you really want to go with this color because that's going to reflect the light better. And, you know, my clothing has changed. The types of cameras we use have changed. It's just being able to have, as you grow, have the ability to invest for things that make things a little more professional. So things that when I first started, like I said, I was using money, and we didn't really have a set or anything. Look back on how I started. I actually just had this little room that we had like a black curtain on both sides, and we tried to make it look bigger than it was. Even one time, we would even stage making somebody look like they were talking to a room full of, like, you know, 15 or 20 or 30 people. We had chairs with a black curtain, Biana, and we just kind of made everything like, just we did the best we could with what we had at the time, right? Yeah,
you were trying to attract the audience. And,
correct. But now it's completely professional. It's all Sony 4K cameras. The content is like, if you listen to the interviews and those types of things, that has remained. The mission is the same, delivered in a more palatable, I would hope, more entertaining.
And Donna, I know that your message for the show is hope and motivation. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yes, hope and motivation. One of the things that I delivered in Sex Talk recently was focus. And focus for me stands for figuring out consistent, unique strengths. And I try to help.
Can you tell us a little bit more about it, what that really means to you, so we can understand?
Yes, figuring out consistent, unique strengths, what that means to me?
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things is that everyone has something, like I was saying before, that makes them special. And it's kind of each person's journey in life to figure that out. And how can you figure that out? maybe sometimes you look back and you say, wow, in second grade, I won an award for this. Or maybe I really like pets. Or maybe I'm consistent and nice. Or maybe I won an award at being a nurse. And it's just figuring out consistent strengths and being able to utilize those tools that are then revealed to you to be able to be a nicer person. I also do these really cool things called Live It Up Tips of the Day. And
can you share that with us?
Yeah, Live It Up Tips of the Day started about 8 years ago. And I grew up Christian, and I celebrate Lent. During the season of Lent, I tried to come up with 40 tips that people could do, whether if they had extra shoes, they would give out their extra shoes, maybe make a meal for somebody that was elderly. And over the years, these tips just kept evolving and evolving, because after 40 days, I was done. I thought, oh, I did it. I'm done. I did my 40 tips. And people were like, we really miss your tips. We like them. We really want them. I was like, okay. So now I either almost every day, but at least maybe 4 or 5 times a week, I come up with a Live It Up tip for the day. So instead of Lent tip for the day, they're still called LTFTD. And I put them on my social media, and people collect them. We actually started doing something really funny. We are now doing these digital playing cards. And the very first one is a card with Mel Brooks, and it's from my interview with him. And it's talking about celebrating your offspring. That's card number 1. And it has the quote between Mel and I, and then a link to my interview. The second card in this series is about declaring your path. And that was based upon my interview with Jay Leno. So we're going to be taking probably 80 to 100 of my celebrity interviews, and we're creating a whole entire card, collectible digital greeting card line.
And I'm sorry, I didn't catch it. Where do you have them on Facebook? How do you?
Yes, I've been distributing them on my Facebook page. I've also been distributing them on Instagram, and I've been distributing them on my LinkedIn.
Got it. So if people join your Facebook page, I would be able to to get this. I assume that they're available and they can see them, or you email them. How does that?
Yes. Yeah, they can collect them. They can come on my Facebook page anytime you want, and they're just free. We distribute them freely, and we want them to be able to help people.
Got it. So that would be your Live It Up with Donna Drake Facebook page, right, Donna?
Yes.
Got
Live It Up.
Very good. Excellent. And then we go back to our conversation that you were saying that we all have a particular strengths, right?
Yes.
So then let's continue that conversation, because I really like that. Okay. So and then we all have, and then what's your take on that? How do you take those strengths and you basically work with them to become who you can be? What is your advice?
Well, one of the things that I've always thought was important in life is being topic, talent or treasure or your time. So if you start finding something that you're really good at, I think that one of the things that you do is, yes, you can earn a living with those talents, but you can also give them back to the community. And through giving, that can also build a sense of, for instance, let's say you know that you're extremely and you like people. Well, then maybe you want to be a greeter at a different non-for-profit of some sort. Let's say they're going to have this big ball, right? So if they're going to have this gigantic big hospitality ball, and you know that you're really good at greeting, maybe you want to be the person that signs them in. Oh, hello, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson. Welcome to the charity ball. My name is Sarah. It's like taking those same talents that instead of just being, okay, well, I'm going to just make money with them. Every once in a while, use those talents and sprinkle them out throughout your community. And I think that's a great leadership skill.
So funny that, I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, but funny that you mentioned that, because as I shared with you earlier today, last week we had Yasanyan Siang, who actually talked about generosity. And what you just mentioned, what you just talked about, for me sound being generous with your gifts.
Yes, absolutely. I would agree with her 100%. You need to be generous of spirit.
And have you ever experienced, I assume you did, but can you share with us, when people were generous with you, any And do you have any stories for us, or maybe even you were generous with people, and how did that impact your leadership?
It happens for me literally every single day. I am moved, touched, and inspired almost to by the people that I surround myself with and that I get to work with on a daily basis. Even last month, every time we start that show, the show's not about me. I'm surrounded by 60 other very person that greets them in the morning, to every single camera person, to the person that's hanging the lights. And it kind of brings me to tears. But most recently, I mean, this is amazing. So the other night, one of our hard drives decided to just crash. I mean, it fatally crashed. And all of our content was there. All of the lower thirds had already been typed in. I mean, we were ready to go to air. We were ready to go to broadcast with this. And I put the hard drive in and it wouldn't mount. Like, God. I'm like, what's going on? So what did I do? I called my engineer at midnight, mind you. It's midnight. And Tom's like, I'll be right there. So Tom came over to my home studio. He, because we have like satellite studios all over New York, but this particular night I was at home trying to upload something. So he comes over and he's like, don't worry, we're gonna figure this out. We were up to 2:45 in the morning trying to download things. And I mean, he didn't have to do that. He could have just said to me, hey, Drake, you know what? I'll catch you in the morning. I'm asleep. But no. And people do that for me day in and day out. They are just surrounded by the individuals that I couldn't ask for anything more. So yes, I am the recipient of generous, kind, good people who have my back. And I like to think that over the years, I have their back as well.
And that's wonderful. I think it's a wonderful segue to something else that you and I spoke about, which I mentioned to you. Sometimes leaders experience conflict among their teams in a workplace. But you said to me when we spoke earlier today that you did not have that issue. And I think, if I recall, you said it's a very negative way to look at it. And I agree with you, and I can understand why you really don't experience that, because it seems to me you have a very loving and respectful relationship with your team.
And we cultivated that, we curated that. We have a saying we don't even let anybody on the show if they're not nice. That every single guest, because we believe that that's the magic that makes that brand work. It's the symbiotic. All of the crew, all of the guests, the networks that we work with, and we give people a tryout. People will come and they'll we might need to try a new camera person or whatever. And at the end of the day, we all kind of look at each other and we're like, all right, do we like that person? Are they a thumbs up or a thumbs down? And so we kind of, like I said, we protect ourselves. We create a very wholesome, good working. Let's face it, spend so much time of your life working with people. You might as well surround yourself with people that you enjoy their company. Absolutely.
Yep.
So that's
go ahead. Yeah.
So my conflict resolution is just like, well, there's the door.
It's right? Good for you, because I met leaders who literally have conflict every single day, and it's, in some, so it's really uplifting and energizing, and, to hear that someone, who's working in the, especially entertainment industry, is having such a wonderful relationship with their coworkers.
It is a very unique thing that we take pride in that.
Very good. So I'm going to actually move a little bit into a different direction, Donna. I want to talk about your brand. You definitely have a very interesting brand. Can you a little bit talk to us about when you started off? Did you envision this brand? Did the brand itself develop organically? Because your brand is very unique. To me, it tells the story.
Live It Up, actually. It's like kind of like being the captain of the Starship Enterprise now, because the brand outgrew me.
Okay.
So what happened is that there's Donna, right? There's just like regular me where I walk around my house and I put my hair up with a pin, or a pencil or a paintbrush in the back of my hair, right? So there's just Donna, which is kind of like, all right, whatever, like kind of laid back. And then there's like Donna Drake, the Live It Up brand. And it's, I'm the same person on camera as off camera, but the difference is that what has been built was, yes, an outgrowth of who I was when I was a little. I grew up singing all the Futures of where we would sing for children that were disabled. We would sing for, the Special Olympics. We would sing for veterans. We would sing for hospitals. And that's where my love and my passion for nonprofits came up. And then I also worked in advertising. I worked in commercial art and design. And that's where my love for advertising came about. I was a performer at the age of 12, singing it, always performing, doing plays, doing theater. And that's how I ended up becoming, in SAG and AFTRA as a film actress. So when you put all these things together, that's really, the television show found its audience basically because I have always been telling I've been interested in, not realizing at the same time that the people watching it were also interested in content. So I like home and decor, so we do home and decor. I like cooking. I'm a foodie. We do shows about, cooking and foodiness. So I guess what I did is I created a brand based upon my favorite things, and it just so happened it's other people's favorite. It's very relatable.
Yeah. Yes, and what I liked, it's very diverse. You have entertainment, you have travel. You're kind of touching all aspects of one's life. That's how it looks to me.
Yes, it's a complete whole. One of the things that's nice too is that we also started doing pet segments on pets. We have this great woman. Her name is Robin Camille, and she has pets for the majority of her life. She's an expert in it. So, and I didn't really grow up with many pets, although I do like them. So I called Robin and I said, you want to do a pet segment? She's like, yeah. So we've had wonderful people from all over the country fly in now to be on the show to showcase these different products that are good for the pet community.
And what was the feedback?
It's been wonderful. Like we had Waruva dog food or pet food on the other day, but one of these really cool things we had on was called Gear Tech, and it's apparatus that they could walk their pet even if they're disabled. So let's say you don't have the ability to use your dog, the body is able to wear the harness, and then you could still walk your pet. So we do segments like that. We do like really interesting or fitness. There's this really great apparatus that is only 10 pounds, and living in New York, you might not be able to get to the door, but this thing's portable. So I always try to find like these things I call it items, and we do segments on things that I think are helpful to you on your day-to-day living.
And to me, it seems very practical too. Like you can go and do something with it.
Well, one of the fun segments that I like doing are my segments with Laura Mastriano, who we do-it-yourself holiday things. And the idea is so people can connect with their children, or they can connect with their parents. Like one thing we did for the holidays is we just did this whole thing with Peeps. How many different things can you do with Peeps? We had over 15,000 people just on social media alone watch it and engage with it. And then how to make your own lemonade, or how to have the best backyard barbecue, or how to do wedding decorations on a budget. So you're right. It's across the board. There's a little something for.
So you're a very busy woman. I am very grateful that you took time to be on my show. So how do you stay abreast of what is going on in your field, and how do you choose what to share with your own audience?
Well, people now are starting to call us, where before I used to have to look for things. Now we get an email. My associate producer in Boston, she funnels all the emails up, and people will request saying, hey, show, how do we get to be on your show? And she kind of goes through them for me, and then we just pick the best of the best. Or at times I'll want to cover something on Broadway because I love Broadway. So I'll make a call and I'll be like, going to be traveling to the Bahamas next year. We're going to be doing 3 days in the Bahamas. The end of August, I'm going to be up in Nova Scotia covering a Harley race. It's called the Wharf Rally. So we're going to be doing that. I guess every day I wake up and I kind of say, oh, that would be interesting. That would be fun. And I like shopping at Home Goods. So we're going to be working with Home Goods. I don't know. Have you ever been to a Home Goods?
No, I haven't. Yeah,
You're missing out. You have to get to a Home Goods. But yeah,
so I guess I should watch your show. And
exactly.
That would be a good introduction, right?
Yes, absolutely. So
that's great.
So
I'm. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and I did get to make chocolate recently. I never knew how to make chocolate, but we did a segment in Industry City and I went to Lilac to make, and they showed me how to make delicious brittle, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. So every day I wake up and I dream up, or somebody sends us a message, and we just kind of follow up on all of that. I have not had many repeats. You know how most shows go into we'll do 13 weeks and then they repeat those 13 weeks. What's also unique about my show is that every single Saturday or Thursday, depending on what market you're watching the show in, is a new, fresh show. For 10 years of my life. I can't tell you how energizing that is for me. Every time somebody's tuning in, they're like, it's fresh. And I feel a responsibility to the audience to deliver the best of the best we get.
And I like that. I like that leader in you, because you're always, what really attracted me to you when we first spoke is you're very energetic. You're very authentic. And what I liked also that you're constantly thinking on your feet. And I feel that, when I was watching some segments from a show, that they really capture that.
I don't use cue cards.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah. When I interview somebody, I kind of know where I'm going to be driving the bus. I kind of know a little bit about them, and I do my research, but I'm never quite sure exactly what is going to transpire between me and the guest during that. Just like you, this is completely, we're not scripted. We're just having a conversation.
Yeah, we're just chatting and we're playing off one another. Yeah.
Right. And I feel that that's always the best, because audience is educated. They know, I think they can really tell. I also got the nicest compliment, big gainer early, but early on in my career, I had interviewed her, and afterwards she thanked me. She said, Donna, I just want to tell you thank you. Oh my goodness, no, thank you. She says, no, let me tell you something. She's, in all the years I've done interviews, they always come to me with the same exact, and she's like, I just could be asleep and answer them in my listened. And I want to give you the same compliment, because it's been enjoyable to just sit here and visit with you all night long.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. So I think you and I think what we actually talked about, we kind of connected, and that same way we wanted the show particular to be is that we want to just chat and just, see where direction's gonna take. So we did not decide to script it, right?
Correct. One time too, you asked me for certain interviews that have really moved me.
Yes, please, if you can share that, because I know you interviewed a lot of celebrities, so I'm not saying that they would be the one.
Right, no, but this one in particular was Doc Gooden. Doc Gooden was a famous baseball player, and he came on the show. We were talking about a book that he wrote.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the name.
Oh, Doc Gooden.
Got it.
Doc Gooden. So I was interviewing Doc Gooden, and he was telling me about this really poignant moment in his life, and he started crying. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, exactly. I was like, and it's just being able to be in that space with someone, just be genuine with them. And he was talking about the no-hitter that he pitched, and the fact that it was the last game his dad ever saw him play, and it's like those moments when I'm interviewing that I sometimes cry. I cry I'm a big goober. I cry I cry with the person, because it's very touching. It's a very special moment when people are watching my show. So whether we're laughing or crying or dancing, celebrating life, that's the underlying mission and theme, is just celebrate the essence of all.
And what I like, what I'm hearing is, Donna, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is something that we talked about in our show a lot. It's a reflective side of leadership. It seems to me that you're very reflective in your actions. Can you a little bit talk about, if you think that's the case?
Just recently, I've noticed that. One of the tips that I wrote the other night was about sometimes not just react I tend to do. Because sometimes when you don't think, especially during like a heated, tend to kind of fall over somebody or maybe hurt them at the core, and you don't really mean to. And if you would have taken out, so I think I'm still growing as I'm still realizing new things about myself. And a lot of times I'll be on, not a lot of times, rarely am I on the defense about something. But half of the time I realize that maybe I wasn't giving that other person the out. So I'm also working on being a better leader in that way too. It was kind of cool because my 12-year-old son came to me. I have 3 children. I have Andrew, Elise. Matthew and I were out on the...
And Andrew is 19, right? You have Andrew?
No, I have let's see, I have Andrew, who's 27.
Oh, okay.
I have, that's okay. Andrew's 27. Elise, 5, going to be 25. And Matthew is 12, going on 13. So
nice.
Matthew and I had a great day in the city. We went to the NFL experience together. It was just a glorious day. We had a lot of fun together. Came home, we were sitting on the swings about life and certain situations. And he goes, Mommy, he says, you're kind of like a pink fluffy unicorn. He says, you're able to like ebb and flow and look at the brighter things in life. He goes, but some people are just orange. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? Just orange? And he's like, well, Mommy, he goes, sometimes people don't have the same have to be able to be a little more flexible. Therefore, it's kind of your responsibility to be like the nicer one or the more considerate, more compassionate person. He goes, because you're better at that. And I was like, oh, wow. So then I realized, I was like, okay, Matt. So sometimes I get a lot of my leadership stuff from my kids, like they'll tell me something and I'll be like, oh, wow, that's how you see me? Okay, you know what? Let me change my game. Let me step up and be that bigger person. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm not. I'm shallow. Sometimes I get upset and get my feelings hurt just like everybody else.
And I really like that you actually talked about parenting, because I believe that parenting and leadership are very strongly connected. We can try to be the best parent and the best leader to our kids, but, sometimes it can be read differently, in our child's, eyes. Can you talk a little bit about it? Because I think you did touch that, but can you elaborate a little bit more?
My older kids, people used to make fun of me when they were little, and I would parent them a certain way because they said, oh my gosh, you're too nice and you're too this and you're too, you should be strong, blah, blah, blah. I said, listen, I'm a single mom, and everybody needs to have peace, and we all need to sleep in my house. Everybody's got to eat. And if I'm, constantly berating my kids or being tough on them, for instance, if my 2 older ones were fighting with each other, I used to put them in timeout, but right in my doorway by my front door. And I would say that they had to sit there and they had to look at each other. I'd be like, listen, you guys share DNA. You're closer than any other 2 humans on this planet to each other. So you're just going to have to look at each other until one of you says you're sorry. You're going to have to work it out. So my parenting style has always been very collaborative, and kind of, I would always give them a clean slate. I'd say, okay, listen, okay, wrong. And that wasn't so great. But you know what? Let's just have a clean slate. Let's just move forward from this. Because a lot of times I wanted to grow up and have a good, almost like a friendship with my children, where other people might say, oh, your kids shouldn't be your friends. You're the parent, blah, blah, blah. I'd be like, yeah, but you know what? Eventually those same people grow up to be older. That's when you want them to. Now I could honestly say without a shadow of a doubt that my son, my daughter, and my son are my best friends. They really, truly are. We're there for each other. It's all about family and connection. And sometimes I need to them, but they're good people. I'm really lucky that they are good, wholesome, contributing members of society. I lucked out with that.
Wonderful. And I guess I know you want to leave with that, but I'm just curious, is there any part of parenting or leadership, in particular, leading a family or parenting kids that you found difficult? Or maybe not,
Yeah, I'm going to say I honestly did luck out. And I know those other parents that might have difficult children are like, oh, please, Drake, really? But it's true. Like my son Matthew just straight A's. He got up every day to go to school on his own, made sure that he had a good breakfast. He always turned in wants to achieve for his own self. And even if he didn't make straight A's, it would have been okay. But the fact that he had a goal for himself and he achieved, I'm proud of him. My daughter, Elise, also has always been very self-motivated. And my son, Andrew, they're good, kind people. So I already started out with 3 kind human beings. The only thing I would find sometimes it's difficult that I never like to see your child be hurt. Like, that's just the absolute worst. And you got to kind of tell them, hey, you know what? Sometimes in life, people might be, or things might not go your way, or there might be a challenge. And I've tried to lead by example. Like the time that I had $1.97 in the bank, I needed to be as strong as when I had $500,000 in the bank. You have to be consistently at the core of your being. Pride for me over.
Great. So, Donna, would you say that being consistent is the best asset of one's leader?
Yes, you should consistently do your very, very best. And if you make a mistake, take responsibility for it. I'm not always perfect. I'd say I'm like a 97%er. So I think I consistently, one of the things I don't do really well, I'll just be honest with you, is sometimes I don't know what day of the week it is. Like I knew that we had to do this radio show tonight, right? I had to call my friend Patty and say to her, listen, I got to tune in. I got to be there at 8:45. I'm like, I'm so nervous. I'm going to like mess up. I'm going to forget. Right. So a lot of times because I'm so crazy busy, I don't have accurate a process in place that always makes me show up on the right day at the right time. So if there's anything that I'm also trying to work on myself, it's that.
But what I like about you, you're aware of that. So you have that awareness so that you can basically work on it.
That's true. Awareness after the battle, right? Being aware.
So would you say that also a good leader needs to have awareness of what his strengths are and I'm going to say weaknesses, even though these are not weaknesses, what he needs to work on?
I would say that a good leader needs to be aware of actually the strengths and the others. To be able to see others what their best qualities are and to be able to engage with others in a meaningful way. Like I don't have to be great. Somebody else could be great at it. So where I have weaknesses, I can hire that strength in somebody else or I can partner, so I don't have to work on my weaknesses much. Like I don't balance my checkbook. I have other people that are really great. I just know I have enough money in the bank to pay for whatever I got to pay for. But like that's not a strength for me. I don't think in a linear way like that. So I work on the strengths that I have. I figure out my consistent strengths, like we were talking about before. I manifest those, and for whatever my weaknesses are, I kind of get other people to support me in that area, so that I don't have to be perfect at everything.
So asking for help and asking, hiring someone, or if you're able to do it, or asking for help, as I said before, can help you do what, can actually free your time to do what you're meant to do or what you're actually very good at. Would you say that's the case?
That's more true to me. Absolutely. Spend time on the things that you're expert at or that you're really good at or that you absolutely enjoy. And then for all the other things that you're not so strong at, there's other people that just dig that, that they are like, oh my goodness, give me that checkbook. I want to balance it and I want to get everything. I'm like, okay, good for you.
Yeah. So this is a great conversation. I really appreciate, you sharing, your personal stories with us, because I think they're very meaningful to all of us. So you've been in an industry. We have a few minutes. I just want to touch bases with how do you feel that media has impacted your leadership style or your focus of your show? And I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just curious, do you feel that media has that power to send a leader in a direction that he might not want to go?
I'm very careful with, as I said, the guests that I have on my show, what my brand's for, and the messages that I deliver. When I first started the show years ago, when I said, "Oh, it's all good news," people were like, "Oh, okay, la-di-da-di-da." Now when I tell people that I have a television show that's all good news, they actually they're actually thankful. They're relieved. They're like, "Oh, I'm going to tune in. Oh, wow, I don't watch television anymore, but I'll tune in. When's your show on?" And, it's a completely different conversation. So I do believe that media, because it's so diverse now and there's so many outlets. When I grew up, there was only the big people like the ABC, the CBS, the NBC. Now there's, hundreds and hundreds of channels. We're almost inundated with content 24/7. Sometimes we need to have even a break from it. But if you're going to consume content, for you that make you feel about life is where we're headed. I really start wanting more of that type of entertainment.
And what it seems to me, sorry to interrupt, it seems to me that you stayed true to yourself and you did not allow media to pull you in any direction that what you thought was truthful to you.
Yeah, I was too afraid. I now have
interesting. Why would you say that?
Well, because I feel like I have a responsibility to my audience, responsibility to I have a responsibility to the people that, and not to put content on the air that doesn't serve them well. Even products, like if I don't like using a product, or if I don't think somebody's sauce even tastes good, I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm like, I have I stand behind everything guest on the show, and I feel that I would not want to disappoint, cause them harm in any way. Therefore, I'm very, very careful.
Interesting.
Somebody wanted to pay me $10,000 to sponsor a segment, and I turned it. It just wasn't the right fit. So for me, it's not about the money; it's about why, and that's.
And for me, Donna, that's really a wonderful ending. I want to now ask you if you have any final thoughts to share with our listeners.
I just want to, thank them for spending some time with us today, and that if they have any questions, free to reach out to me, info@liveituptvshow.com, or, that I want to partner with them on the journey. And I thank them and I respect them for, I genuinely care about people.
And that's wonderful, because I think on that line, I'd like to say that maybe for you, leadership is a general, really showing care for the people. Would you say that's the case?
Absolutely. Genuinely, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Wonderful. So again, go ahead, Donna.
I was going to say, it's hard for me sometimes to be in the interviewee. It's easier for me to be the interviewer.
Yes. How did it feel? Because you are interviewing people for a living. How did it feel to be interviewed?
It's not as easy. I prefer to be the one asking the questions, but you did a wonderful job, and you made me feel very comfortable. You made me very, very comfortable. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So again, you can read about Live It Up with Donna Drake. You can go to their website, which is liveituptvshow.com. Donna, can you please repeat how they can catch your show on what stations.
Yes.
And you, I know you are Saturday, which I understand 6:30 a.m., but depending how it's broadcast, sometimes it's on Thursday.
Correct. So they can watch us on WLNY, CBS affiliate in the tri-state area. They can watch us on WBZ Boston, Channel 4 on Thursday nights after the late recording. And they can watch us on SDK NBC 5 o'clock on Saturday mornings out of St. Louis. And then they can watch us on YouTube 24/7. We're also on several OTT. So simply if they Google Live It Up or Live It Up with Donna Drake, they can click on and they can watch us in a variety.
Wonderful. And so again, thank you, Donna, for being guest on the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening and being part of Leadership with Biana Kovic show. Wishing you a wonderful evening. Again, thank you, Donna. Please come back next Monday, July 2nd, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a great evening. Thank you again, and good night.